All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm here with Dr. Lisa Marie Lee. I am Dr. Joseph J. Burt Miller Jr., and together we are bringing you Docs and Docs. We're two doctors providing insight on the latest documents from both a cybersecurity and HR perspective. Dr. Lisa, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Dr. Joseph. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. So I'll just share something, just a little off topic. I went to the Giants game yesterday in Jersey, and it was raining. It was cold, and it was also disappointing because the Giants lost, but an absurd amount of points. But I had fun. I went with my brother. It was good bonding time, so I had fun in that respect. But
Yay.
all right. So, what we're going to discuss today, we're going to talk about the recent LastPass breach. Actually, it's the second one within the past 6 months, actually. So, let me bring up that article right now. Da, 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 da. Sorry. Here we go.
Shield, Dr. Joseph J. Burt Miller Jr., PMP joined.
There we go. Okay. Let me lead this up here. And of course we'll have the article provided within the we have that within the chat, or well, I mean, we'll send out the link, people will be able to find it. So regarding the last pass breach, so last what you know what is LastPass? So LastPass is a password manager. It stores encrypted passwords online. The standard version includes a web interface and plugins for various web browsers and smartphone apps. So, unfortunately, LastPass was recently hacked for the second time within the last 6 months. LastPass admitted that a hacker could access certain elements of customers' information. However, LastPass doesn't specify what exactly was exposed. They claim that no customers' passwords were affected in the incident, but it's hard to take comfort in that, as they also said that they are not sure what customer information was viewed and presumably stolen in the hack.
Mhm.
LastPass has since launched an investigation by requesting the services of Mandiant. They are a leading security firm and informed law enforcement. So this current incident is a result of the previous incident back in August 2022. Uh, Whoever was responsible for the last incident could hack into LastPass and get a hold of some customer data. Now, Michael White, technical director and principal architect at Synopsys, stated on the cybersecurity dive that such a breach can allow an attacker lateral movement towards critical sensitive information, or in other words, or permit an attacker to interfere in the software build process to introduce backdoors, which make their way into production. And lastly, LastPass is utilized by more than 33 million registered users and more than 100,000 business customers.
Yes. Yes. It's crazy. When you first sent me this article, Dr. Joseph, I was like, what is LastPass? I didn't know what you had sent me. I was so confused by it, but I was also like, how did this just like go overlooked as well? Nobody really talks about these data breaches. So for those that aren't familiar with what LastPass is, it's owned by the parent company GoTo. You might be familiar with some products like GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, GoToTraining. They have other ones, Go to My PC, and it was formerly known as Log Me In, which was a few
Right.
years back, right? So once I actually had to go and look and see what this company was, then I realized what it was, and I had to realize, oh well, this is something that I've used before. And a lot of they have major partners, including HubSpot, Salesforce, Google through Google Calendar, and also Microsoft Teams. So once I really realized how large of a consumer network they deal with, then I got kind of scared. And it was like, wait a minute, this company doesn't only impact like, whatever companies and their employees' professional information, but also individual consumers' personal information as well. This includes children as well, because they're using Microsoft Teams, and
Mm,
schools use Microsoft Teams. So that not only would affect me, but also my daughter, because her
right.
school system uses Microsoft. And then I got to thinking, and I was like, wait, this even can also have an effect on the federal government, because we know the federal government loves Microsoft, relies heavily on Microsoft Teams as well. So this is actually pretty scary.
Yeah.
And I find it very concerning that there isn't a lot of talk about this breach, and it's kind of not really making headlines. I don't really watch a lot of news, like live action news. I'm more of a streamer, but I do read a lot. I read newspapers and things like that. I'm more of that type of girl. And so I haven't really heard much outside of what when you brought it to my attention, and then from there I did my own research. So this is actually pretty scary.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. And you know, so I was a I say former customer of LastPass. Now, I find the convenience in using a password manager with the amount of different accounts that I have, and I'm sure as everyone is, as working online, and whether you're banking, you have school accounts, you have your email accounts, what have you, all these accounts, you're gonna have username and password, more
Mhm.
than likely, unless you have some biometrics enabled, but more often than not, it's going to be username and password.
Yeah.
And with that, and of course, one of the basic cybersecurity principles is that you don't want to use the same password or reuse the same password for multiple accounts, because all it takes will an attacker to figure out once, and then they can use that same password against, I don't know, 10 other accounts you may have that is using the same password. So it's always advised to use very strong passwords, alphanumeric passwords, with special characters, um, at at least 8 characters. Of course, the longer the password is, the better, the stronger it is.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So with that said, with the amount of accounts I have to use a password manager.
Yes.
So I definitely I was I won't say I swore by them, but I was a big believer. I mean, I was even telling my family about, hey, you guys should download LastPass and use that, and I was definitely bigging it up. And yeah, when the first breach happened, I was like, I got to get off of this. So I definitely did that. I did some research. I was trying to find out what would be a a good alternative to LastPass, because there were features that I did like. So like if you have LastPass installed on your machine, and you have it installed within your browser, whether you're using Brave or Chrome or
Mhm.
Microsoft Edge, what have you, you have to you could download, in this case, you could download LastPass onto the browser, and then you log in, and then so what happens, so let's say you go to one of your accounts. Let's say, for example, you go to your banking account, you go to usaa.com, and when it brings up the fields to your username and password fields, LastPass will automatically fill in those fields for you, or
Mhm.
it'll at least recognize the page, and then you could pull it from that add-on, from that LastPass add-on from your browser,
Yes.
and it did it automatically. It's very seamless, and I really like that, because and also too, another thing as well that I like is that it also, like, when it comes time when you do need to create, let's say you create a new account, or you're changing your password, LastPass will offer you like strong password recommendations. So instead of you trying to think of a password to put down, LastPass will generate a strong password and automatically save it within your password vault.
Yes.
So I thought those were some very good features. Yeah, and also you could also get that on your mobile phone, your iPhone, Android, what have you. Download the app, and the same thing as your, you know, serving to different websites that require username password. LastPass will automatically suggest it for you or bring it from bring it from your vault and and fill in those fields. So yeah, so when the first breach happened, um didn't make me feel good. I did my research, and then so the password manager I did land on was Bitwarden.
Mhm.
Um, so far that one has been serving me well.
Okay.
It is a bit of a drop off from LastPass. It is not as, I say, seamless as LastPass is, but I definitely feel more secure using Bitwarden. So it I'm good. Bitwarden, that's the one I'm going with.
And
So I downloaded all my data. I migrated my data from LastPass to Bitwarden. I told the company I'm closing my account. They and believe me, they tried to
of
say,
course.
oh, yeah, they try all these things. Like, you sure we can't, do something to make it? No, just close it out. I'm done. Um, and then now when this article comes out for a second time,
Yeah.
that just confirms. That just lets me know, like, okay, I think I made the right decision because this is insane. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it happened like a couple of years ago. The first instance, it was within the last 6 months.
Hmm. That's crazy.
So yeah,
I
sorry,
Well,
good.
I don't know. I just find it's just weird. I'd never even heard of the first time when the data breach happened, So I'm just catching
Yeah.
up. And so I'm like, I'm just stuck on I mean, I just feel like there's not enough being said when it comes
Mhm.
to data breaches. I'm just stuck on that because, I just I just feel like everyone's out here on our own, you know, exposed. We're all exposed and vulnerable, and your information, if your information's stolen, I just feel like no one really cares. I don't know. There's not much you can do. There's not many laws to kind of help protect you.
Right.
So it's very scary.
Well, to that point, a lot of these organizations that they want to keep, the information trail of their breaches to a minimum.
Yeah.
They don't want it out in the news cycle too long. They want to try to remediate as soon as possible and move on to the next thing. I guess the next distraction that keeps the spotlight off of them, because one of the reasons I'd say is because it does affect the reputation. I mean, in this case, from the first instance, they lost a customer because, yes, it, I didn't feel good about my data being possibly exposed. So I migrated my data off to another company. In this case, it was Bitwarden, and I'm
Mhm.
sure there may be other individuals that may have done the same thing. So yeah, the more negative press that's out there, it's not good, and companies want to keep that to a minimum. And also that's the reason why a lot of organizations, companies don't want to report that they have a breach for that reason. They want to try to keep it minimum. Sometimes you hear about organizations that had breaches that happened like a year or a year and a half
Mhm.
ago, and they never reported it. But it didn't come to light until later because maybe there was like a bigger breach that happened, and then you start learning more of the details of what what happened before, but it was never reported, or no one ever said anything because, like I said, they're trying to maintain reputation. They're trying to
Yes.
keep their business, try and keep their name, I guess, in good standing, or what have you. But yeah, so it's the biggest losers, of course, are the customers, because now, depending on what the organization does with your data, or what type of data they collect on you, or that they have or maintain, your information's gone. Well, not gone, but it's exposed. um but the company, of course, they're looking at perspective of, that they're trying not to, they're trying to mitigate the problem by, not trying to lose too much money, or not have, too much negative press, or not having it out there too long. They try to do whatever they can. Or they may offer you free credit monitoring a lot of times. That's
Mhm.
kind of like usually the go-to
Yeah.
strategy. Um, they'll, you know, yeah, they'll send letters to say,
Yeah,
your
there's
data might be out there, but
that's pretty
so
much
sometimes kind
pretty
of
much it.
vague.
Yeah, very vague. And if you can connect uh your data being used to this breach, then you can be given some sort of settlement. I know sometimes I hear some things about that. I've heard something
Hmm.
like that before, but you have to be able to prove that that's where they got your information from. Like, how are you going to know somebody got your information from that data breach? So yeah, I think it also, from an HR perspective, I think it's also a way to kind of calm employees' fears by trying to keep this stuff quiet,
Hmm.
outside of people that have knowledge of IT and cyber and this type of world. A lot of employees don't even know what that means, and they're just more worried about, making ends meet and how they need this job. They don't really understand the importance. Not all employees understand the importance of what a data breach means and how that can impact them down the line and into the future. Not only them, but also their family as well, because they're linked together. And so I think that that's another way to try to make a company look in good standing, and to not cause fear for future employees that want to come work for a company, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that's just sad, really, because if you look at it, all of these companies and all the individuals are impacted, so it's not just what is this company's name, go to. It's not just go to and they're thinking about themselves, but it's also their consumers, and those their business, and then their employees, and then their families, so
Right.
really it's not something that can be pacified, because everyone is left vulnerable. But I guess that's the cost of a consumer society. Everyone wants to pretend that it's not really happening, but it is happening, but
Right.
truly everyone is impacted. And I guess that's something that us as individuals, when we choose to work a position, you know, we're really vulnerable, and your trust, even though you're entering into this new relationship with an employer, and you have some sort of trust that your information is protected, you know, and
Because
then
you're getting up a lot of data. You're getting a lot of
you're bringing up a
information.
lot of information about
You
yourself,
know.
not just present,
Yeah.
but past, and
Yeah.
your past dictates somewhat of your present and future, right? Because it
Of
follows.
course.
So that leads into your children and everything like that. So it's all connected. And, trust being so low nowadays, and employees not even trusting their employers, this is
Mm.
more of a reason for why people will want to shift and be more cautious about the type of companies that they do work for. We
Right.
have so much going on in the world, and just of the changing workforce anyway. And with this, it's just another reason, for people to reconsider who they work for. And companies like this are definitely in a tough spot. They're leaving us vulnerable by not
Right.
honest and open directly about what's happening, what information is truly getting out, how it's how it could be used, because some people don't even understand. You tell them their information has been taken, but to them they don't know what that means and how it can be used, or how it can hurt them, and not just them but their kids as well. Not even just that information for someone to go on and, I don't know, buy something and steal money or whatever.
Well,
It can be
well,
used to track you.
right. And you're going down the avenue of identity theft now,
Yeah.
because the just depending on the type of data that in this case, an attacker is able to steal. I mean, the biggest thing, of course, if they're able to get your social security number, your address,
Yeah.
your name, and then also maybe family members. And, you
Yeah.
talk about children, and it's it could really do damage. And like you said, a lot of people may not, yeah, as you said, may not even realize the impact until maybe one day you log into your account and you see it, your account is wiped out because someone post as um, either run up your credit cards or now you're getting all these fees and penalties because someone is posing as you going on a shopping spree.
Yes.
So, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people they are more reactionary than being more, you know, proactive in when it comes to their security or securing their data.
Yes.
A lot of times, I think a lot of people need to actually I guess maybe go through it the hard way in order to really understand. Like, even though you can tell people the best practices and this and that, and some people won't do it until it affects them, until it really hits home or it affects them or a family member, and they actually see like, oh man, this is real. Like,
Yeah.
so, but unfortunately, by that point, it could be too late because a lot of cases when it comes to identity theft, it's not a quick thing to reverse. Especially how extensive it is. I've heard stories where it took years to get their identity back and
Yeah.
get to recover from that, really affecting their credit. Their credit scores could take a big dive because of that. And even though it's not them, they weren't the ones doing it, that someone is out there posing as them.
Yeah.
And so it will have lasting impact. And of course that'll impact you whether you try and buy a house or get a car or even getting a job.
Yep.
Most cases, real good paying job. They're doing credit checks, and if your credit's in the dumpster, then yeah, I'm sorry, you're not going to get it.
Yep.
So I think we do need, when we see stories like these, we need to really take it more seriously. Really start thinking about how, start thinking about your you know your footprint as far as like
Yes.
how you manage your accounts and everything online. Like, if you have accounts that you haven't used in a long time, maybe it's time to either to look at that, to maybe delete it, or maybe update some of those passwords, those credentials, if they're fairly easy passwords. A lot of folks, they go through I'd say like password fatigue when having all these different accounts, and then they kind of get lazy and then just using the same password for multiple accounts. And like I said, it just takes one time, and then they can use that same password against the 10 other accounts that you use that same password for.
Hmm.
So cybersecurity is definitely something you have to be very proactive on. It's almost a little bit of paranoia, I'd say, at times. I will admit, but but no, I mean, but like I said, seeing stories like these, like I said, this definitely affected me. I was definitely affected with this from the first breach. So the first one, I was like, I jumped ship, and yeah, you just can't be too lax. I mean, this is your data. I mean, your information that's out there is not the company's, it's yours specifically, you. Um, you know, you gotta. I think you gotta take better charge, better care of, like, who handles it, or even ask questions like, who else is gonna see this when I submit this to you? Like, who is handling this when I submit this? You know, so it's almost kind of like when like you download a new app, and then we just scroll right to the bottom and hit accept because we just want to download the app, but we don't read those terms and conditions. And there's one, probably this is gonna be for episode 3. I definitely want to discuss it next time. The Lenza AI app.
Okay.
I definitely want to talk about that next
Where
time
everyone's doing.
because
Yeah.
yeah, oh my
Everyone's
gosh,
on the way.
yeah.
I'm good with all of
The,
that.
Yeah, those watching right now, if you're in your app store about to download the app, don't download it. Just stop. Just don't do it. No, I definitely, I think that should be the next one because I think that's really a big issue. Because it actually even reminds me. I don't know if you remember I don't remember the name of the app, but it basically, that app where you take a picture and then it ages you, like it shows you how you would look
I
if
have
you were
either.
80 or 90 or
Not
whatever.
either.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
But
that's
kind
what
of like Bitmoji and all those, like Bitmoji. I remember uh they still use that with Snapchat. Uh
Mm,
and I know it was supposed to be like it gets into your data and it's like takes stuff. There's a lot of those apps that do that. They track you, do so much.
yeah. But people don't care. They just want to download the app and so they can share it up with their friends and you know. But they put that stuff in there,
Yeah.
knowing people are not gonna read it.
It's intentional.
So absolutely. So I guess we could kind of wrap this one up. I mean, I'll leave you, with the last words, Dr. Lisa. I
All
mean,
right. All right.
yeah.
I think that I think we'll bring it back to the HR perspective. I know I spoke more from an employee's perspective and how they may not trust a company, but I also think HR needs to take a greater position when it comes to securing data of employees and making sure that they're aligning and strategically planning with IT and cyber within their companies. And if they don't have some sort of plan in place, they need to create a plan and look at types of third parties that can be brought in or consulted with, you know, and they be a liaison if there is an IT platform within a company and they oversee and liaison and make sure that everyone's up to code and getting all the necessary training and everyone's running all the necessary checks and balances and making sure everything is protected as far as employee data because they are the focal point of ensuring that protection. That's their responsibility. Although there's not much that can be done, to protect, like if employees do feel that they've been wronged because they haven't been protected, there's not much that they could do unless they focus on civil action. So there's not much accountability that can be done there, but it is HR's responsibility to take charge and make sure that that information is protected. Breaches are occurring continuously. If you look around, it may not be getting big headlines
Hmm.
well, like it should be, and so many don't know.
Right.
But HR is responsible, and that is something that they need to take heed of. We are in a new normal. Information is
Hmm.
sensitive, and a plan is necessary.
That's well said. Well said. Well, I think that's a wrap. Dr. Lisa, thank you again for doing this. Episode 2 is done. Thank you all for watching, joining, or you probably watch this tomorrow when you wake up. But that's a wrap, and we will see you next time. Later.
Bye.